What's up, y'all? It's your girl Brandy from Stay Snatched, and today I am sharing my product review and a recipe I created using Crepini egg thins. I took those and made an enchilada recipe, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm trying out a new product that I've seen at Costco a lot. So this is actually where I picked this up. I haven't seen it anywhere else, so I'm not sure where else you can grab it, but I'm sure you can hop on their website to see. But it looks like it's called Crepini. It's egg wraps made with cauliflower. It has 0 net carbs, and every wrap has 30 calories. And so this pack comes with 14 wraps, and I feel like this was maybe $5 or $6. And so it comes ready to eat. I can flip this over and take a look at the nutrition facts. So each wrap has 30 calories, 1.5 grams of fat, no carbs, and 3 grams of protein. And then the ingredients look really clean as well. Just cage-free eggs, cauliflower powder, olive oil, sea salt, xanthan gum, spices, and citric acid. So I'm going to use these and I'm going to make some chicken enchiladas tonight. So I'll get those out of the pack in just a second. But I also picked up a $5 rotisserie chicken from Costco that I'm going to use to make these. I'm only going to use the chicken breast for this recipe, and then I'll use the chicken legs and the wings for something else. And I'm also going to make some bone broth out of this. So I might film a video showing you guys how to keep the leftover bones and the carcass to make bone broth as well. And so I make my own taco enchilada seasoning myself. Let's see if I can remember how to rattle this all off. This is 1 tablespoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And I like spicy, so I've got 1 teaspoon of red pepper in there. And so because I'm using a fully cooked rotisserie chicken, I'm not going to add any additional salt. I may taste it kind of as I go, but this usually has a nice amount of sodium, so I'm not going to mess that up by adding even more salt to the mix. So I'll kind of just taste as I go and adjust as necessary. I'm only going to use one of these, so 4 ounces of green chilies. And then to keep the carbs low, I'm only going to use half of this. So this is 14.5 ounces of diced tomatoes. I'm only going to use 7 or 8 ounces. You can also use Rotel, which would combine the green chilies and the tomatoes together. But to keep the carbs low, tomatoes have a lot of sugar. Well, not a lot of sugar, but a nice amount of sugar in them. So I'm only going to use half of this. And then you can also make your own enchilada sauce. I like the one from Trader Joe's. It has pretty decent macros. And so for 1/4 of a cup, it has 2 net carbs per serving. And so I'll use a cup of this. And then I also recommend using Mexican cheese or like Colby Monterey Jack combination. I'm using what I have on hand, cleaning out my fridge and just using what I have. So I've got 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar and 1 cup of mozzarella. Again, that's not typical for enchiladas. You probably want to pick up some Mexican cheese. And then I've got I'm going to use half a cup of onion. You can use whatever kind of onion you like. I love red onions. So if you've watched my videos before, you've seen me use this onion chopper. I love it. It's on Amazon. I will link to it in the description. You just put your onion on there, ensure that it's locked here, and then press down. And then I've got my onions already chopped and ready to go. So I sliced into my whole chicken, removed the chicken breasts here. And so I'm going to try to make 5 enchiladas. And so the goal is to get at least 2 cups of chicken that I can slice up. And so I can definitely get that out of these 2 breasts. The other thing, I typically, when I'm using a whole chicken for a recipe like this, I will remove the skin. But let's be honest, the best part of getting a crispy rotisserie chicken from the store is that nice chicken skin. It has so much flavor and it's crispy. So today I'm going to leave it on. So feel free to do whatever you want, but I'm going to chop this up into smaller cubes. I may shred it just a little bit. We'll see, but I'm going to leave the skin on there. Okay, so I've chopped up my chicken breast. This looks like it's closer to 3 cups of chicken, which is probably good because I just took one of the crepinis out of the packaging, and it's a really nice size. Like, this is a pretty nice size for enchiladas, to kind of fold these over so it looks like it'll fit a good amount of stuff. So let's get started. I'm going to saute the chicken breasts with the spices, the onions, and the tomatoes to make our enchilada filling. Non-stick pan here on medium-high heat. I'm going to add these onions. I'm going to saute those until they're translucent and fragrant. And I'll come back and show you guys how that looks. Okay, so the onions are nice and soft and fragrant. So now I'm going to add the chicken, the spices, and the diced tomatoes and chilies. So I've added my chicken. I'm going to add all of my spices and then the green chilies. And I'm going to do half of the diced tomatoes, and I did drain this. I don't want the enchiladas to be watery, so I did drain the sauce. So let's see how that looks once we get this good stir. Since I drained the sauce, I think I'm going to add the full can of tomatoes. Actually, may not need the full can. Okay, I'll give this a good stir, and I really want the spices to kind of penetrate that chicken, since it already just came with kind of like a salt and pepper seasoning. We want it to taste like the chili powder and the cumin. So I'm going to give this a good stir and get that fully integrated. Previously, when I was sauteing the onions, I did have the heat on medium-high. I have adjusted that down to medium. So I'm just going to give this maybe 2 or 3 minutes to kind of simmer uncovered on medium heat to just make sure that the flavor fully gets into the chicken. So I ended up leaving half of the tomatoes out of this. I think that this is enough sauce. I removed it from the heat. I don't want to dry out that chicken since it's so juicy from the rotisserie. But I am going to add about half a cup of the shredded cheddar to kind of get that to melt in before we start putting together the enchiladas. Get just a little bit of a melted cheese taste going on in there. So I'll stir this up and allow that to melt, and then we can start assembling the enchiladas. I have an 8.5 by 11 baking dish here, and I'm gonna spritz it with just a little bit of olive oil in the bottom just to prevent anything from sticking. So I'm gonna work that in. Okay, and so now we can add our crepe. I'm gonna just start calling it a crepe because that's essentially what it is. I've got my crepe in here. I'm gonna try really hard to fit 5 of these in this dish, so we'll see if we can make that happen. But I'm gonna add some of my chicken mixture. So I'm not gonna overstuff these, but I am gonna make sure they're nice and healthy and have a nice and healthy portion. Can probably get one more scoop in there, and then I'll close this off. I'm gonna close this off and make it really, really tight so that I can try to fit 5 of them in there. Rolling it to secure it and close it off, I noticed that there were 2 of them that were stuck together. So be cognizant of that. Yeah, That was actually 3 of them stuck together because here's 2 of them right here. So just something to be aware of. They're really low in carbs, so you could easily probably double wrap these if you want. They're really low in calories. They're really low in pretty much everything, but you only get 14 in a pack. So if you're trying to be cognizant of that, just be aware. They're kind of sticky and stick together. So I decided to go ahead and double wrap each of the enchiladas. The macros on these are so great that why not? But as you can see, so this is just one of the crepes. It's kind of flimsy, like this one is torn. So they are essentially the texture of an actual crepe. They are really, really thin. And they say that kind of in their name as well. So that's kind of to be expected. So to make these feel more enchilada-like and to just prevent the tearing, I went ahead and double wrapped them. I do have just a little bit of chicken left over. So I think if you're gonna make 5 enchiladas, then 2 to 2.5 cups of chicken will totally be enough. I definitely had more than 2.5 cups. So that's why I've got a little bit left over. So I've got my enchilada sauce. I'm gonna drizzle that over the top. And this was a cup of enchilada sauce. And then I've got a silicone spoon. I'm just gonna kind of get that worked in. And once I've got that equally kind of spread throughout, I'll come back and we'll start adding on the cheese. Okay, I've got the enchilada sauce on there. I'm gonna start adding some cheese on top. This is the best part, right? I just want to make sure that those are nicely mixed on there. And you can also add more cheese to the filling than you do on top, or you can just use more cheese than I use in this recipe. You can use whatever you want. We need some mozzarella over here. I'm just gonna take and dump this throughout. And so with the enchiladas, I do like to cover them in foil and bake, so I will do that. So I have my oven preheated to 375 degrees. I've covered this in foil, and so I'm gonna let this bake for 20 minutes, then I'll take a peek at it. You want the cheese to kind of be bubbling, and so I may do 20 minutes with it covered and then another 5 to 10 uncovered. We'll just kind of peek in and see. The foil from the top of these right at 20 minutes. So I'm gonna give them another 5 to 10 uncovered, still on 375 degrees. So I baked these for an additional 5 minutes after the initial 20 covered in foil. I think these look fabulous. I cannot wait to slice into them.
So for my final review, I will say that these held up really well and they work excellent as an enchilada. There were some bites that if it was not fully covered in enchilada sauce or had a lot of chicken, I could taste a slight spongy taste, but I think that's because I double wrapped the enchiladas. If you single wrap them, you may not experience that, but overall, I think that these work wonderfully. I would always pair them with a sauce. I'm not sure if I would like these just kind of with some deli meat or some cheese or something like that. I think that spongy taste may be too much for me without a sauce accompaniment. And that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Be sure to like and subscribe.